Coming up, we talk about our trip to Disneyland while Shaun, Craig, and Corey drink Indonesian poop coffee. Something I never thought I'd say in my life. Coming up next. This is the DIS Unplugged, episode number 597, for the week of April 16th, 2013. The DIS Unplugged is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, specializing in helping you plan the perfect Disney World, Disneyland, or Disney Cruise Line vacation. Visit them on the web at www.dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Welcome to the show, everybody, coming to you live from the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Pete Werner. Joined at the table this week by my good friends Shaun Thompson, Craig Williams, Tom Bell, Corey Martin, and a one-man band back in the production nook, Dustin West.
It's like a DJ.
The cone is
and there. The cone is in the building. Just to watch Dustin jump around, I'm going to ask everybody at the table to randomly yell out an attraction that you want a picture of on the screen.
We'll just keep doing switch to me.
When I yell, Haunted Mansion.
Switch to me.
You're going to see how long it takes them to get a picture of Haunted Mansion. As some of you may or may not know, the team was out in Disneyland last month, and we were tweeting and Instagramming and Facebooking, and we had a lot of people following us. It was a lot of fun, and we were out there on one of our bi-yearly now, content trips, and it has always been my great challenge to try and convey to people who are used to going to Disney World the value and beauty of the experience of going out to Disneyland. I was one of those people who always thought, why should I go to Disneyland? I've got Disney World right here. And, is it really different? The answer to that is yes, it really is that different. And so we're going to kind of approach these from that standpoint. If you're a Disney World vet, you know Disney World, and you haven't been to Disneyland, or you haven't been to Disneyland in a long time, that's kind of the approach we're taking here. Shaun and Craig both were basically newbies. Craig hadn't been in quite a while, since you were very young.
It was 1999.
Which means you were practically a fetus.
Exactly, yeah.
And Shaun had never been.
Yeah, this was my first time.
And so I thought it would be interesting to kind of get their perspective and see. Of course, we're joined by the host of the DIS Unplugged Disneyland Edition, Tom Bell. That show every Thursday, disunplugged.com. You can subscribe to that feed. I encourage you to do so. It's an amazing show. They do a great job. Wonderful team. Incredible information, and especially some of the history pieces and the background pieces you guys do are really second to none. So I encourage everybody to listen to the show because Tom refuses to go video.
Exactly.
And
I can't record in my PJs.
To get started with the segment, if Dustin's ready.
Yep.
We have a video that Craig put together kind of encapsulating the experience that we had over the 5 or 6 days that we were out there. Just to let everybody know, this is part one. We're going to talk about Disneyland. Next week, we're going to talk about California Adventure. The week after that will be Downtown Disney and the Disneyland Resort Hotels, which is the Grand California, the Disneyland Hotel.
Just let my wife know I'm never coming home. So.
Well, no, we're pre-recording those segments. Let's not lead them on. We're pre-recording those this week, and those will go up next week and the week after. But it's the Grand California Disneyland Hotel in the Paradise Pier. But Craig has put together a wonderful overview of our trip, and we're going to play that for you now. So if you're listening instead of watching, you can check this out on disunplugged.com or on our YouTube channel. Links to that on the show notes page. So let's go ahead and watch.
As it gets? Okay.
Except on the other side where you swing out over the water. It's about the same.
It was great, but I need Adrenaline. I'm gonna throw up. I didn't see that. Tell me good. Today is the day I get to see Disneyland for the very first time, and I'm so excited. We've been to California Adventure for 2 days, and we could not go through the turnstiles at Disneyland, so I'm ready for today to happen. I got Mickey. It's very different. Smaller.
Sorry, it's cute and funny, but
It is. It's still there, like jewelry store?
No, it's gone.
That's a shame. Where's the Gibson girl? Small world over here. And it's totally different than ours. It's smaller and nicer. And they have the ship right there called the Columbia. Goofy's Kitchen. We're gonna get to go meet Goofy and eat waffles and bacon and fruit piglet. I don't know if that's true or not. I hope. Thank you. underdone.
Beautiful.
With some worms. Do bears eat worms?
Awesome job. It was a great video, Craig.
Thank you.
Oh, and I just want to make sure I make reference to the Indonesian crab coffee.
I'm starting to sweat a little bit.
For those that were watching the last show, one of our listeners sent in coffee that is from Indonesia that was literally like crapped out by an animal. And during the break, we ground it up, and Shaun, Corey, and Craig are drinking it right now.
It's an interesting flavor. I don't think I like it.
It's not as Putin as I thought it was going to be.
You've been saving that one.
You've been sitting on that for a few minutes.
But I
haven't
really
you?
am starting to sweat a little bit.
Craig, what do you think of it?
I'm shaking a little bit. I don't know if it's because it's my first time at the table or if it's the coffee, but I'd drink it again. It's better than the coffee I have at home.
It's because it has
Okay.
poop on it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, well, they were actually eating the beans.
Yeah, we
And
did.
I'm not going to tell you the name I gave them for that, but
Oh, Lord.
show up at a meet, and I'll tell you personally what I called them. All right, let's get ahead and get started with talking about Disneyland. I'm fond of saying that one of the reasons I love the Disneyland Park so much is that it is the original. It is the only one that Walt actually walked through and had a direct hand in everything that happened there up until he died. And that, for me, that feeling, that legacy, that history is just seeped into the ground, and you feel it as you walk around. It's hard to describe. It's also a very different vibe than our Magic Kingdom. Disneyland, in a lot of ways, is a locals park. It has been part of the culture in Southern California since 1955. Everyone grew up with it. Everyone there grew up going to Disneyland. So there's a pride of ownership in that park that, in a way, I don't think we have here in Orlando. Orlando's a much more transient town, or at least through the beginning years of Walt Disney World. I think it's becoming less transient now, but so there's not that same pride of ownership here that you have out there. And the Disneyland fans are they're a tough bunch.
Yeah.
They're a very tough bunch. They don't take well to a lot of change, a lot of certain changes.
Right.
When they start messing with the legacy.
Yes, definitely.
They'd never pull Mr. Toad's Wild Ride out of Disneyland.
No.
They'd never get away with it. And they had a real hard time on their hands when they tried making changes to Small World.
Yeah. I think it turned out well, though.
I agree.
Well, you know, where that was concerned, it was what Marty Sklar said. It's not a museum.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, because at first I was like, oh, they can't do that. But when he said that, it's not a museum. No, he's right. It's not. It's not. But it is a very, very different experience, especially if you have been to Walt Disney World. So I want to talk to Shaun and Craig a little bit, because for them, this was a brand new experience. And for you, a brand new experience, seeing it through the eyes through your eyes as an adult.
Yeah, absolutely.
With a lot more experience at Walt Disney World. So let's talk about that moment, that first time walking through.
Well, I mean, even before you go into the park, Disneyland, you notice the differences immediately because the parks are so close to each other. And I knew that they were relatively close, but I mean, they were right next to each other. You could just walk across. I think it was, what, like 100 feet?
California
was-
Adventure is built on the old parking lot.
It was unbelievable to me. I mean, because here, it's so different. There's no way you can walk between parks.
You can walk everywhere at Disneyland.
Yeah. And
Everything.
downtown Disney is so easy to get around. And
Isn't that a
it's just-
great downtown
yeah.
Disney?
And the resorts are right there.
So
So
yeah,
it's
it
just
kind
really-
of, I guess maybe backtracking a little bit and explaining for people. The resorts, Disneyland Hotel and Paradise Pier, are right next to each other. They're connected via downtown Disney to both California Adventure and the Disneyland Park. It's a very short walk, about 5 to 7 minutes, depending on which hotel you're coming from. The Grand Californian is actually built in the middle of downtown Disney and actually has an entrance right into California Adventure, so that's quite a bit closer. Grand Californian is their flagship resort, built by or designed by the same architect who designed the Wilderness Lodge and Animal Kingdom Lodge here in Florida. So,
but then, getting back into Disneyland, as soon as you enter, Main Street just has a different feeling. It almost feels like a real town when you walk through it. And I don't get that sense for us here. You can kind of see Tomorrowland, on the right-hand side. And so that other stuff is there. The trees aren't right up against Main Street, so it looks like, stuff's behind there.
it's also a little smaller and more intimate.
It is smaller, but not in a bad way. It's just a more compact kind of
Right.
immersive
More
way.
realistic.
Yeah, it seemed to me to be more realistic, yeah.
Well, I didn't get the whole small aspect of it. Whenever I walked in there, I thought it actually looked like the street was a lot wider. I mean, the buildings didn't seem as high, but to me, I felt completely surrounded by everything, but it felt so wide open. And it felt like there was more to do, actually walking down their Main Street or just being in there. There was a lot more to experience.
Yeah, things are a lot more separated. So there's multiple shops that you can go in. It's not like, we have the Emporium on the left-hand side, which is just all one store. At Disneyland, it's all really broken up, and you can go into different places, and it's
Which
really
I
deep.
love.
Yeah, and the details in there are so amazing. Like they have these animatronics up in their ceiling, and it's just really cool. And there's different rooms, and everything's themed differently. But yeah, and then once you get out of Main Street, the hub really shocked me because it's just so cramped together. Like our hub is huge.
Right.
Like you could just fit 1 million people there. But Disneyland's hub is just so tiny. And the Astro Orbiter is right there on the hub.
Right.
That's the biggest part of it. Like you're standing in the middle of the street, but Astro Orbiter really is only like 20 yards away from you.
I think it's in the hub, isn't it?
Practically,
Like it's not
yeah.
even in
Yeah,
Tomorrowland. Which, I mean, isn't a bad thing. It's just, I guess they didn't have enough room.
Lots of people want that thing to move.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's kind of like your hat. Your
Exactly.
Hollywood Studios hat.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's nicer because you can get to different lands quicker. There's not this huge street you have to walk around. And I love the trees in your hub.
Yeah, their hub is more picturesque,
Yeah.
for sure.
Agreed.
And we were there at a perfect time. It was like these beautiful pink flowers.
Mm-hmm.
So you could really photograph the partner statue and get the castle in behind. It was really nice. Ours is kind of bare.
What on Main Street stood out to you? What was like your...
For me, it wasn't really any building per se. It was just once you walk in the main gate, you go down and you're in Main Street. Something about the feeling of being there, it was completely overwhelming. Like, we were in California Adventure before. It was awesome there. I love that park. But I didn't get that feeling. Like, it was kind of like, oh, like I'm actually here and this is happening right now.
Right.
And it translated into the other areas of the park once you're walking around. But just standing right in their Main Street, it felt, like you said already, Walt was there.
Right.
It
Yeah.
was just incredible.
There were specific things that I was looking out for. Like I wanted to see the lamp in Walt's apartment above the fire station. And I wanted to see his park bench from Griffith Park. That's inside Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. I wanted to see the magic shop, basically just because famous people have worked there. Steve Martin used to work there. So there's just so much history that these people have been there. And that's why I wanted to go see Jungle Cruise so much, because John Lasseter was a skipper there.
Right.
And you remember these things and you've learned them. And we don't quite have that much history.
Not like that. Not that kind of it. We have our own history.
Yeah,
but
of course.
It's not...
It's just a different type.
I don't think the lore here is as rich
Yeah.
as it is in Disneyland. Then again, it's been around longer. And again, it's also part of that, how Disneyland is so tied to the social fabric in Southern California and the culture in Southern California.
Well, I was even walking down Main Street and I was like, oh, that's where Julie Andrews was on the trolley when she did that special. And I remember her hanging out. Remember that stuff.
Of
You've
course
seen
you
it.
remember that
Well, yeah.
stuff. Then he broke out into a song.
Maybe everyone doesn't remember that, but I don't know. It's so exciting to see the places that you've seen growing up.
I think the lamp was the coolest aspect for me on Main Street. Like I didn't even know about it until we were walking out the night we saw Fantasmic. Whenever we walked by, everyone's like pointing at it, and I wasn't paying attention. And then once I asked you what we were looking at, it was just like, oh, really? That is...
Yeah.
There's nothing like that, in my opinion, on our Main Street. Nothing that sticks out, just like that one solitary thing. It's amazing to me.
Right. So their castle among Disney World fans is often the butt of jokes for its size, which I have to be careful because he's in the room now, so he'll come across this table at me. What was your impression of their castle?
I absolutely loved it. I thought it was very charming.
Yeah, I thought it was perfect for the
Yeah.
park. It fits into that park.
Did you get to do the walkthrough?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I thought that was
love
amazing.
the fact that you can walk through.
Yeah.
Right. There is the story of Sleeping Beauty.
Right.
You can actually kind of walk through that castle, and it tells the story of Sleeping Beauty. It's brilliant.
And they're
It's
just these like
beautiful.
small vignettes that you look at through a window, but the effects are really cool. There
Yeah.
was this one scene where Maleficent was like, there was like a fire and she like came up, and then there's this really cool thing like it's the Haunted Mansion effect where they do the shadow on the wall, but it's her. It's Maleficent, and she's like walking past in the green light. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I basically had to drag him out of there. Otherwise, we would have been in there for
We were
about
holding
2
up the
hours.
line. Yeah.
Yeah, it was getting a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
But it's exciting, and I wanted to see right next to the castle the Snow White statue, because I mean
Her little
that's like
grotto.
classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the white ones.
The white white
yeah.
fountain statues. Yeah, that was cool to see.
Now, moving over, let's go from the castle. Let's move over to Tomorrowland. And their Tomorrowland, very, very different in
Yeah.
some ways than
I'm glad
ours.
that we're doing this fairly recent because I hated Tomorrowland there.
Did you
I
really?
really did. There were a couple things I loved. I loved Interventions, because I recognized the shape of the building.
Right.
Because you can go back and look at old photos, and that's the exact same shape with that big ramp curving around the building. So I could connect it with what I remembered. But I don't know. It just didn't seem like there was that much to do there.
Well, you've got the Astro Orbiters. You've got
Yeah.
Buzz Lightyear. You've got Space Mountain. You've
Their
got Star
Space Mountain
Tours.
is better.
Oh, their Space Mountain is a lot
Oh, yeah.
better.
Their
Yeah.
Buzz Lightyear is better.
I agree. I think their Buzz Lightyear is better. I have not done Space Mountain out there. What's different about it?
Almost everything. I mean, even the ride
It's a
vehicle
totally
is different.
different- yeah, it's totally
It's a
different ride.
two-person seater.
It has speakers,
The music is
Yeah,
the
the-
huge thing.
and it's so smooth.
Yeah.
yeah.
Our whole track needs to be redone, so it's just like that one.
In ours, it just feels like, you're on it and you're just trying to hope that your head doesn't get knocked off. Like, you're worried about what's going on around you. You constantly hear all the other trains moving around you. There, you feel like you're by yourself in the rocket with everyone else you're with. It's just, and it's dark, so you can't see anything. You're just there. And it was awesome. I loved it. It was like the greatest start to our Disneyland day.
So, where do we go next? We go into...
Well,
Fantasyland.
yeah, before that, the only thing that I didn't like about Tomorrowland is that we didn't get to do enough of it. We were busy running around the rest of the park. Like, I really
What would you wanted to do Buzz Lightyear?
I wanted to do Buzz Lightyear
Yeah.
because I kept talking about it, and then we just ran out of time, and that drove me nuts because all I've heard from people is that it trumps ours, mainly
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
get to pull the gun out.
It's like a
and-
freestanding gun, right?
Yeah.
It's not
Freestanding
connected.
gun.
Yeah,
I
like,
think it's worth noting that their speedway or the Autopia there is a lot better than ours
that-
as well. It goes through an
longer,
actual
yeah.
environment.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like the IndyCar or NASCAR thing that we have. So I like that.
Yeah,
and
it's like-
it, it fills up that space,
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
thing that was sad was the track for was it Rocket Rods? What's it
The
called?
the old people mover track.
Okay, it's so close to your head, like you could almost reach up and touch it
Right.
when you're walking through Tomorrowland, and it's just not being used for anything.
Nope.
yeah. Whenever I was there in '99, it was rocket rods, and we wanted to go on it that day, but the only thing we kept hearing was that it had broken down like all the time.
Yeah.
But it had that allure, and they really need to do something with that.
The problem is the getting people off the ride and all the new rules and evacuation procedures
Yeah.
and stuff like that. They just can't.
Oh, is that
put
what it
anything-
was?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay.
Now. Well, I mean, that's if they put in a new attraction, they'd have to
Redo it.
widen the tracks or
Yeah.
something.
See, that structure really makes Tomorrowland seem very small because it breaks up the skyline.
Yeah.
And, it's like there's a roof over your head through Tomorrowland.
That's actually interesting because Tomorrowland there, it didn't seem high like ours is. You have our Astro Orbiter way up, and everything just seems very towering in ours. There, it just felt really wide open, which is not like a lot of the rest of the park. But it just didn't feel like there was anything dominating that area.
Well, I think it's also worth mentioning that their monorail stops in Tomorrowland.
Right.
Monorail goes from downtown Disney to Tomorrowland and back. And their monorail is different than ours. Did you guys get a chance?
I did not
Did you
get
guys
a chance
to
to
get on
do
the
it yet.
monorail? Their windows open.
Can you stand up in them? They seem really small.
They're kind of. I don't think. Yeah, they're not really stand-upable.
Oh, okay.
They're more for seating.
Yeah.
But the window's open because there's no air conditioning on them. Is that correct?
Right.
So.
And you can still sit in the front in theirs, as we
and,
saw.
And the back,
but,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Which I'm really upset that I didn't get to do. I really wanted to do that.
He's angling for another trip out there. That's what this is. I didn't get to do that because you were making us run around the park.
Didn't have time for Finding Nemo either.
Oh,
just throwing that out there.
Wow. Well, you know what? I'll tell you what. When we're out there again and you're not, we'll do it for you. And
I'll vine it for you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. That's very sweet of you.
Let's move over to Fantasyland. Got a chance to do Small World out there. Significantly different than ours, I think, in a lot of ways.
We talked a little bit about the characters being added. I thought that was a nice addition.
I agree.
Yeah,
I'd never seen it before, but I don't know. I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
It didn't take anything away from it. In certain scenes, I thought it added to it.
Yeah.
But in other ones, like I believe is the Finding Nemo ones, that felt a little out of place.
Yeah, because they're
it's
just
some
separated.
fish.
Yeah.
But the ones that they tried to integrate the characters looking like the Small World characters, I had no problem with it.
I think the biggest thing about Small World is the facade on the outside.
Oh yeah.
The beautiful wall with the clock on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just so iconic.
You took the words right out of my mouth. It's iconic, absolutely. And
it's like the original, and you know it from just seeing
exactly.
pictures. Yeah.
Exactly.
Another cool thing is you go outside, so that's
Yeah.
where you get on and out of the boat, which is so different than what we're used to.
What do you think of Fantasyland and Disneyland overall?
I loved it. It seemed spread out to me, and there were different areas to Fantasyland.
Right.
So as where we kind of have one kind of big area that's, I mean, it's spread out, but it's at least grouped together. In Disneyland, it seemed like there was that area near Small World, which didn't almost seem like part of Fantasyland. It seemed kind of in the back, and there was that pathway to Toontown. But then the main Fantasyland area with the carousel and all the dark rides, I loved that. Their buildings were beautiful.
Yeah, it's set up like a little village.
It looks like a little European town.
houses.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. Our Fantasyland just kind of looks a little rundown compared to theirs. And it's so much older, but everything is just themed so well in that area.
Yeah.
And
It
there's
is
so much
brilliant
to do.
theming.
Like Fantasyland was one of my favorite lands there, and the other day whenever I was in Magic Kingdom, I just ran through Fantasyland really quick, and it was my first time being back in there since we've been back from California, and I just kind of laughed.
Their Fantasyland blows ours out of
It
the
has so
water.
much character.
Yeah, their teacup area. Also
Granted, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Also the Snow White ride. The Evil Queen will look out the window.
I love
at you.
that. Yeah.
And there's also you get Storybook Land too. But granted now we have new Fantasyland, but I think just apples to apples comparing our old Fantasyland to their Fantasyland, they just take the cake.
The best ride I did at Disneyland was in Fantasyland. I am in love with the bobsleds, the Matterhorn bobsleds.
Really?
Really?
I love them. Yeah. I love the attraction. I love the shape of the mountain. I think it adds so much to like the skyline of
It
Disneyland.
does. It is pretty.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
I've heard in the summertime you can go and there's actual climbers.
Yes.
Do they still do that?
Yeah.
And there is in fact a basketball court inside that mountain.
Yeah.
I haven't been on it since they redid it. Was it smooth?
It's not
No,
smooth.
it
I wouldn't,
Doesn't matter.
change
Hurt.
the ride at all. Yeah. No.
I wouldn't say it's definitely not smooth, but it's not as jerky as everyone was. I was expecting pretty bad.
I went on it with Walter before they rehabbed it, and they really should have been handing out like back braces and neck braces because
Really?
it was, oh my Lord.
I didn't have that experience.
No, that's
So
how
that it
I
is
felt
smoother.
though. No, I didn't think it was smooth.
I went
at all.
into it expecting something horrible. Like I thought I was going to need a neck brace.
like surgery.
Yeah.
When I got off, I was just like, oh, this hurts so bad. And Shaun's just like giddy and smiling. What, did we go on the same ride?
We must not have. I don't know.
No, I guess not.
I was in the back seat, so maybe.
I'm with Craig. I avoid that ride.
I mean, I'll still go on it every time I'm there. I love that ride.
I love the
but-
waterfall. You see the Yeti. It's really cool, and you get really good views of the park.
You also have Mr. Toad's Wild Ride in Fantasyland in Disneyland, which we don't have in Orlando. We did have in Orlando, and they took it out to put in Winnie the Pooh's Acid Trip. And that's another iconic classic. Did you guys? Did you get a
We
chance to
did
do
do
Mr.
Mr.
Toad's?
Toad's, yeah.
Yeah. We waited a good amount of time for it too. It was one of the longest lines that we stood in.
I love that ride.
I never did it here, so I didn't know exactly what to expect. It's really fast. I don't know.
It is. It's I think it's fun. I think it's
It's
a
not
cool
what
dark
ours
ride.
was.
Oh, it's not?
But no, because we had the 2 tracks. And this is coming from way back memories for me because they took it out. Probably the last time I rode it was in '94. So I was 7 years old. I barely remember it, but ours was better, but it's still nice to go back.
It was the same
and actually be able
storyline
to
of
do
when
it.
you're going to hell and there's...
Kind of. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But no, it was, I loved it. The only thing I wish is that our GoPro video that we shot of that would have came out brighter. Because I keep watching it at home and I hear everything that's going on in the ride and you can't see anything.
Yeah, it's really dark
Like,
ride. What else in Fantasyland? Anything else stand out?
Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, we did Alice in Wonderland and I loved it.
Yeah.
I've never done that.
Oh, it's really cool. You go up on the roof and there's like this section where you're like going downhill and it's really cool.
Bizarre when you go on the roof.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite rides in Fantasyland and in Disneyland in general. Like, we did the poll for people choosing which Disneyland video they wanted to see of ours, and it was like neck and neck between, I think it was Monsters Inc. and Alice and Grizzly, and I was hoping it'd be Alice because it was such an amazing experience on that ride.
But it ended up being...
It ended up being Grizzly, but I'm not bitter.
He needs to go
I
back.
can see them all whenever I want, but no, Alice, it's my favorite dark ride.
You're going to put Alice up, right?
What's that?
You're gonna
Oh,
put it-
yeah. Alice is coming up very shortly, and it's amazing. The quality came out great, and it's going to just make people want to go there and actually see
We
it.
have a ton of videos from this trip, and it was so nice that I didn't have to shoot any of them. Between Dustin and Craig, they did amazing getting an enormous amount of video content. We have so much going up with these shows. It's fantastic. All right, so let's move over to Frontierland.
Well, Toontown.
Or
Go back
Toontown.
to
Yeah, let's go to
first.
Toontown. Again, now this is an entire land we don't have. And even when we did have Mickey's Toontown Fair here, it was never anything close.
This was like an actual town.
This was, it's unbelievable.
We
You
had
know,
the trailer park.
Right, yeah, basically. We had the quickly thrown up version. This Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin, I think, is a great.
The queue for that is intense.
Is amazing.
Is it ever full though? I mean, it was the longest queue I've ever seen.
Right.
That they just built in for just in case.
Yeah, just in case. I mean, no, it's busy during the summer.
Yeah.
But it's so different. It's so different than anything we have here or anything we've had here.
Yeah.
And I think Toontown there is just that's never. I don't think you're ever going to see them take that down.
The whole time I was walking through, I was saying my kids would love this.
Yeah.
Especially with Mickey and Minnie's house, and you have Goofy's house and Chippendale's tree house.
And the details are so cool. Like there's these things that you step on around the fountain, and they make like horn noises, and it's cool.
Just walking through Mickey's house, I'm thinking of what I can tell my kids because they would love that. Oh, there's Mickey's bed. There's his backyard. They never had a chance to experience that here.
Yeah. Well,
When we
Roger
had it.
Rabbit needs a lot of credit too because that's the only place you can see anything Roger Rabbit at Disney anymore. Right. And like I got that the day it came out on Blu-ray. I have it in like every single format. I love that movie.
It's a great movie.
Yeah. And it's such a shame that you can't see it anywhere but there, but that also gives me a reason to go back again. Just
that
so
was
I can relive that.
Zemeckis did that, right?
Yeah. Robert Zemeckis.
Yep.
But it's again, Toontown out there, I think is fantastic, and very well themed, very well put together. So again, something we don't have out here.
Yeah.
Now we'll move over into Frontierland. And what stood out for you in Frontierland?
I loved the Rivers of America section. Mm-hmm. It was just beautiful.
Very different than ours.
Yeah. And the area leading up to it is just so huge.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they use it for Fantasmic, and so there needs to be standing area and seating for that. But it was just so like you walk up and it just takes over the whole landscape.
And that's an important point to mention that in Disneyland, Fantasmic is performed on the Rivers of America. It's not a separate stadium like we have here, and it's a whole different experience. And I'll tell you, you see Fantasmic in Disneyland, and then you come see it here, and you're like, oh.
It's true. I couldn't believe the way the whole area transformed to accommodate the show.
It's brilliant.
Things come out of the ground. There's like these huge light poles that come out,
Yeah.
and the stage actually that's on Tom Sawyer Island. It's just amazing to me that that's a guest area. And during the day you can go walk around, and then it has a huge dragon on it during Fantasmic.
Yeah.
It's just so crazy.
Yeah. And just a whole different experience. What else about Frontierland? Obviously, we have.
Well, on the Rivers of America, you could do the Columbia, which I thought was really cool.
It's a different
they have
ship.
2 ships that sail around. They have the Mark Twain, and also the Columbia, and it's really cool. They go for a little trip, and you go underneath the ship and see like the sleeping cabins. They have a kitchen and stuff. You can just explore, but then on the way they have like little vignettes set up, kind of like we do on the river, the Lily Bell. How you can go see like the Indians and things like that, Native Americans. But it's really cool. Then they have like animals and stuff. So yeah, it's a nice trip. And when you're up on the ship, you can actually get really good views of New Orleans Square.
Yes, some great views.
Yeah.
Did you do the canoes?
I did not, and I was so upset because I wanted to do them, and then Craig checked in on them on Foursquare.
Yeah.
And he did them without me.
I did do them without you. And the canoes were amazing, but I had a horrible experience on them because I had a little girl behind me, and she wasn't doing anything but slapping the water with her paddle. So I got off, and I was just soaking wet.
See, that's when you slap the little girl with the paddle.
I was doing everything I could to use my oar to like block hers. So I was like timing my strokes to block everything, but it was just so interesting to see the Rivers of America from that experience. And not only that, but the canoe guides are hilarious because they just berate you the entire time and they belittle you.
It's similar to going on Jungle Cruise. I mean, you got somebody telling jokes the whole way around that.
Yeah, like ours, he told a couple jokes, but he's just like constantly, you know what? At this point in time, it's going to take us 2 more days to get around here. Like just trying to get us to work more, but it was hilarious. Like you didn't know whether to keep paddling if they would do the work or if you're just gonna sit there and laugh. Like it was awesome.
For me, seeing those, that's one of those again iconic things that I remember. I wasn't alive, but you've seen the videos of like opening day, and you think about Frontierland, Davy Crockett coming, and seeing all the canoes and the boats and stuff. It's just something that is so different with Disneyland than from Disney World that we just don't have, and I love that kind of nostalgic history feeling that is associated with the canoes in Frontierland.
Agreed.
Unfortunately, Thunder Mountain was closed.
Yeah, Big Thunder was closed under refurb. And I didn't get a chance to go over to the ranch area, Big Thunder Ranch.
Right.
And that's a petting zoo.
Petting zoo, and then they have the barbecue out there. But they've been using the space behind that used to be the Hunchback of Notre Dame show. They've been using that as, they call it, the Big Thunder Ranch Jamboree. So when they're doing a lot of the limited time magic stuff, or
that's where the characters are, the forgotten friends.
Yeah, the long lost friends or whatever the heck it was.
Forgotten friends.
They've been using that area a lot for special events.
But anything else stand out to you in Frontierland?
Not much really. There was this cool quick service place. You probably know the name. It had these beautiful murals on the wall. You kind of walk through.
Rancho
de Zocalo?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't eat there, but I just saw I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah.
The theming.
Another land that exists in Disneyland that does not exist in Disney World is New Orleans Square. And this is where...
I was blown away with New Orleans Square.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
This is where we have... you find the Haunted Mansion is in New Orleans Square. And we also find Pirates of the Caribbean in New Orleans Square, as well as the venerable Club 33, which we had a chance to have a rather disappointing dinner. I've got to be honest, if I have to say. It was not...
I loved it only because of the fact that we were able to be in there.
Yeah, I understand. I understand.
It was my first time being there, and so it was...
It was not the first time for me, and I thought, because we had dinner at the Napa Rose at the Grand Californian the night before, which was mind-numbingly extraordinary. Last few experiences I've had at Napa Rose weren't that good. This made up for them, believe me. It was amazing. And Club 33 didn't measure up. It didn't measure up. The service didn't measure up. The service was terrible.
It was all very quick.
Yeah.
Like I
we were
wanted to
rushed.
stay in there for hours.
And we were rushed
Yeah.
through our meal, and that was really disappointing. Because every time I've ever eaten at Club 33, it's been an extraordinary experience, except for that time. And I was kind of angry about it because, you know, these guys, it was their first time. I know you guys, Dustin's been before, Corey and Tom, but for you guys, it was your first time, and I wanted it to be, you know, I wanted it to be as great as the night before was at Napa Rose.
Yeah. But
Go ahead.
it was so exciting though, like ringing the doorbell and then
It is.
having the guy come to the
There's
door
the history
and
there.
letting
You
in.
can't beat.
And I don't know how the four of us crammed into that elevator, but we did. Surprised we didn't break it. But yeah, it was exciting. We got to see the harpsichord and everything. So.
And for those not familiar, Club 33 is a private club in Disneyland. It's members only. To get in there or eat there, you have to be a member or you have to know a member. And fortunately, I know a member, so you know, I can get in out there when I'm out there. But it's really kind of very nondescript on the outside. There's just a placard that says 33. There's nothing, no big hoopla, just a door. Then you go inside, and it's, you know, this was a place Walt had built to entertain VIPs and celebrities and things like that. And it's impossible to get a membership into this club.
And even if it is possible, it's incredibly expensive.
Very expensive, and they even stopped taking waitlist. They opened it up briefly when they opened up
when they opened up
1901.
Carthay Circle, but you know, a lot of people want to be members of Club 33 and will pay anything to do it. I'm one of them. I would absolutely pay. But
I enjoyed the food there. Like, my meal was good,
but it was, I have to admit, it was not as good.
Coming off of Napa.
It wasn't as good as that experience, but the food was still really good, and it was nice to have my mint julep that I talked about all day.
He did. He was a proper Southern belle.
In my fake accent. But I won't do that anymore.
Please don't.
Yeah. But I like that, and going out on the balcony and being able to get
that was
to
really
look
cool.
out at everything, and, you know, not to, like, say that we're better than anyone, because we're not, but
although
seeing
getting out on the
people
balcony
looking up at you.
was so hard to do because the tables are right up against the balcony doors, so you almost have to like ask people to move or
Excuse
like
me,
squeeze
pardon me.
yourself in between the chairs. I don't
like the guy who was there in the sweatpants and
there was a man in
sweatshirt.
sweatpants eating.
Yeah.
Well,
What are you gonna do? Pirates of the Caribbean, very different from ours.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Amazing, isn't it?
So much better than ours.
It is light years better than ours.
I just loved even the story. Like the whole process of getting onto the ride is different. But even just the story, like you're in this bayou and you're kind of going along, and there's like these old trees and with moss on them, and it's just so great. And there's even the scenes are different. So you start high and then you go down a drop, and that's where most of the ride happens. And then towards the end, there's 2 drops.
Yeah.
And then you have to go up a big ramp at the end to get back off the boat.
And then you have that awkward moment where your boat passes by all the people in
It's
line.
really close to the queue, and so you're kind of just sitting there not wanting to look at them. And I don't know, maybe that was just us.
I think it was just you.
Oh no, I was looking at them, but it was awkward.
Yeah.
But that's part of that. That's what makes it so charming there. Like
The awkwardness.
You know, if it's your first time going on it, like I remember my first time going on it, and you get inside the building and you're like, the ride's right there, you're going right past it. And then once you get into the bayou scene and you see everything, then you're even more confused. Like for a Disney World person who's never been there before, they're not going to know what to expect by it. And it is hard. Like we can talk all about it, but you can't describe it without actually being there and seeing it. Yeah. It's incredible.
What about Haunted Mansion?
I loved Haunted Mansion, like the exterior of it.
The
I love
facade
the
is
building.
completely different than ours.
Yeah, it's so different. And even the queue, you kind of walk through a smaller cemetery, and it's really nice. The ride, I didn't notice too many differences.
I don't think there are too many differences.
There's a few. I mean, like you ride past, like here you ride past some of the stuff that you walk past at Disneyland.
Yeah, exactly.
And we don't have the stairway room.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. One thing I would love to see it at, in the holidays when they do the layover.
Yeah.
They do the layover?
I don't know where that came from. The overlay. I just switched the 2 words.
He has travel on his mind.
Haunted Mansion Holiday.
Yeah, and that starts the end of September.
Usually mid-September through the first of the year.
And
so it's both Halloween and Christmas.
Yes.
It becomes a night. Yeah. It becomes the overlay is Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
It's the Nightmare Before Christmas. It's amazing. It's amazing. Again, one of the things they do out there that we don't do out here, and I hope it stays that way. I mean, there's a part of me that would love if our Haunted Mansion did that. But, you know, I kind of go back and forth with it because I absolutely love that overlay. And I would love to be able to do that here just because it's so cool. But at the same time, you know, I love the fact that there are things out there that are unique that I look forward to seeing and doing when I go out there.
Well, they also have a Christmas Small World overlay.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Is it decorations or just music or both?
Both.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Decorations, and they change
That's
the
cool.
soundtrack.
Well, I mean, just the holiday. I mean, we
Yeah.
could do a whole show just on that. The holidays out there are very different. They do a lot of different things than we do out here. But what else about New Orleans Square? Did anything else stand out to you?
Jeff, definitely the layout. So like you walk through these streets and alleys, and it's just so condensed that it's very immersive. Like you just walk through and you feel like you're actually there, like walking through these streets. And there's shops all along the way, and there's street signs, and I don't know. It's very charming walking through.
Along the same lines, I really like if you're coming from Main Street, it's not as big a deal. But if you're coming from Adventureland or from like the part of Frontierland where the backyard barbecue thing is, the Thunder Ranch area, it's kind of like this grand reveal, New Orleans Square and Frontierland revealed together. It's just this big open space, and you've just been in like this narrow walkway. It's a very, very grand feeling when you first walk in there. I love it.
Yeah. There's a number of things, you know, we keep talking about the little shops. It's one of the things I think is that Disneyland definitely has over us is that it's a different, even though there's a lot of the same merchandise out there that we have out here, there's a lot of stuff we can't find out here.
Oh, yeah.
Every time I go out there, I find things that I've never seen before. And whether it's in the Disneyana store on Main Street, off the page over in California Adventure, or even the World of Disney at Downtown Disney, there are just the shopping. I think is much better. I think it's a much better. I think in part because the stores are kind of compartmentalized and specialized.
Yeah.
That you can go into different stores and find different things. Unlike here, where it feels like every store I go into, I'm looking at the same stuff.
I had a tough time. I was looking for unique stuff for Ferris and Finley and Julie, and what I thought I was buying something unique. I was in World of Disney the other day, and I see same shirt except it says Walt Disney World on it. I'm like,
Yeah.
But there are some great shops around downtown Disney. There's the Vault, Vault 28. Is that right? Vault 20. Yeah, Vault 28, and then D Street.
And
my favorite store in all of Disneyland is Wonderground Gallery, which is fairly new. I think it's only been there for the past year or so.
Yeah, something like that.
But they have all these like special art pieces, prints, and Corey's shirt that he's wearing right now came from there. Just all these like unique Disney designs. So it's not like traditional
right.
Very representations of the
very
characters.
artistic.
Yeah, exactly. But it's really nice.
One of my favorite places to eat in Disneyland and the whole resort is in New Orleans Square. No, it's not the Blue Bayou. Cafe Orleans. They serve the Monte Cristo, which...
That was really good.
It's amazing. It's disgusting. But, I mean, it's a deep-fried ham and cheese sandwich with jelly on top and powdered sugar. How could it be bad? How could anything that tastes that good be bad for you? And I... who did I have order one this trip? I didn't.
I ordered one.
You
but
ordered
I didn't
one.
Do the
I had
powdered sugar or
a
anything on it.
I had a couple of pieces of his because I couldn't, I'm trying to lose weight. So, oh please deep fry my sandwich. But it's always very good. It's always very good. And everybody talks about Blue Bayou, which is a restaurant located inside Pirates of the Caribbean, and it's horrible. I mean, it's absolutely... It's got to be
rave about it, but I've never had a good experience
there. It
there.
has got to be, in my opinion, among the worst restaurants in any Disney location I have ever visited. Whether we're talking about Paris, whether we're talking about Orlando or California, I think it is consistently awful. I think it rests on its laurels of the fact that it's located in Pirates of the Caribbean. It is dark. It is overpriced. The service was boring if it wasn't bad. And the food was terrible. And Disney should be ashamed of themselves. I've said it for years. And I keep going back. I didn't do it this trip, but I keep going back saying, maybe this time, maybe this time. 4 times I've done that. And I finally said, you know what? Got the message. This place is crap. I'm not going back.
The line for it is unreal. Like, you almost can't walk through it because people are just crowding around that desk to check in.
And
So
Cafe Orleans, you can usually, if you don't have a reservation, you can usually get a table within 15, 20 minutes at the most. I don't think I've ever waited more than that. And it's nice. You can sit outside in the patio and watch the people go by, and the food's good. I mean, it's not gourmet. It's not, oh my God, but it's good. It's good. I think it's better than Blue Bayou. And certainly not as expensive. But one of my favorite places to eat out there. And now, what am I missing? My computer died, so I don't have my notes.
Critter Country.
Critter
We
Country.
have Critter Country.
we did Winnie the Pooh there.
Yeah.
I think that's all we did.
I did Splash Mountain too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Splash Mountain, where Splash
I
Mountain
was already wet from the canoe ride, so I figured I'd go on Splash Mountain too.
How did it compare?
I prefer ours mainly because of how they do the Matterhorn and our Space Mountain style seating of one in front of the other. And I did single rider on it, and I was placed with a family of 5, and I was in the back seat, so my legs are straddled around a stranger that I don't even know.
That's
not the first time.
Oh, thank you. It was still a good ride. There is a lot of differences. Like some of the show scenes, I actually enjoyed there more. I think theirs is a little bit longer, which is the consistent trend with most of their rides. It's a little bit longer, but I enjoy ours because it's not awkward seating. So, but
Now-
Pooh was great.
Now, Tom,
Yes.
when was Critter Country added? It's not an original portion.
He looks so lonely back there, doesn't he?
But there's the cone.
He has the cone, yeah.
I love how the cone has a microphone.
And
Yeah.
the cone doesn't have its headphones on.
Oh, I should have done that. But yeah, right, Tom?
It became Critter Country when Splash Mountain opened.
Okay. I was just curious.
Yeah. It was Bear Country before that.
Yeah.
I'm missing something.
Adventureland.
Adventureland, thank you.
Which is actually my favorite, I think.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Their
It's a lot
Adventureland.
smaller than ours, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
But you have Jungle Cruise and Enchanted Tiki Room there.
And
But you
Indiana
also,
Jones.
You
Well,
also
Indiana
have Indiana Jones, a ride,
Which is-
an attraction we don't have,
Which is unbelievable.
here.
I loved it.
Yep.
The queue alone is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
You go through it.
It's
We got
brilliant.
fast passes. It is. Yeah. But it takes you through this whole like story of you're on like this archaeological dig and there's this like this movie you watch, and it's just great. And then you walk through and then you board the vehicle, and isn't it the exact same ride as Dinosaur?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, same
layout.
ride mechanism. Yeah.
But not
I
the
thought it
track,
was-
though.
The
track
if
is the
it's not
same.
the same, it's very, very
I
similar.
thought that they
yeah.
just took the
Yeah.
exact same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're like, it's so open. And,
Well, the surroundings
No,
are different.
Yeah, but the layout of the track is the same.
because I could connect it with, this is the round thing we go
Yeah.
through in Dinosaur.
Yeah.
and-
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you go down
Yeah.
underneath the dinosaur,
It was just
underneath
it's
the rock.
it's amazing.
It's hands down the best Disney ride, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I can't think of
It's
anything that beats
definitely
it.
high up there.
Like whenever you're on the ride and you see the giant head with all the flames and everything going around, and the Raiders of the Lost Ark music comes on. Oh, like that's sorry.
Craig's having a stroke.
I kind of am. Like, oh, I don't even know how to explain it. It was just one of the greatest moments
it
of
is
my
fantastic.
dorky life.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah, it's my favorite ride.
It's an awesome attraction. And their Adventureland, again, is definitely more intimate than ours, but I also think it's better themed.
Well, theirs is more intimate mainly because of the Dole Whip line, which I think at any given point of the day had at least 50 people coming from each direction.
Yeah, it's so confusing because you have a line on the outside, but then you have a line
The secret
in the
line
inside
yeah.
the queue of Tiki Room. Yeah, so it's always crowded.
It's like, I know whenever we went to do Tiki Room, we walked up like in that general direction and we're like, oh my God, look at the line for the Tiki Room. It's all the way back out here.
Yeah.
And then we keep walking and walking, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, Dole Whips are right there. But blew my mind, because ours you might get 20 people at most in the line, but there it had to be 50 people deep.
Well, again, it's one of those. It's part of the culture.
Yeah.
It's part of that. You have people. They get off of work. They go to Disneyland. It's the weekend. Did you notice how busy it got?
Oh yeah.
Starting Thursday night, because locals are coming in.
Yeah.
Not that you don't get tourists from out of state and out of the country. You do, but it's definitely a locals park.
1 million pass holders.
1 million pass holders. Wow.
And they all show up for Fantasmic.
Yep.
Yeah, they do. Every one of them.
5
That was
o'clock on a Friday
organized
night, they're all
chaos
there.
right there.
Oh yeah.
We were on Main Street, and we had to make our way over to Rivers of America to watch Fantasmic. And
I think we had to go through Critter Country to get there.
it was one of the worst experiences of my life, honestly, because there were so many people, and you just could not get over there. And whenever you're walking around Disneyland, it seems as though you're always going against the crowd of people. So it's so hard to get around. So, but I guess it's just crowded.
Yeah. We didn't have that hard of a time walking through because people were distracted by the fireworks that you couldn't even see.
Well, that
that
time,
was
but I mean,
sad.
even getting back to
That
like
was
New Orleans
disappointing
Square.
that you guys didn't get to see the fireworks because it was overcast.
Yeah, there was this weird fog or clouds or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
those
see like
clouds were-
glowing light
Yeah.
here and there, and
The
hearing
music was
pops.
great,
That's about
though.
it.
Oh.
That was bizarre.
Yeah.
So let's talk about our favorite things, our top 3 picks at the Disneyland Park. I love the
Our
disembodied
little
Yeah,
heads.
really
It's like I
cute.
expect them to start dancing around
Yeah, it's kind of creepy.
Oh, I like
with those little animated mouths. They're just hi.
Yeah, it's very jib jab. But let's start with me. What did I say my favorite things were? Okay, New Orleans Square, absolutely. Club 33, Haunted Mansion. I love New Orleans Square. I think it is probably the best land at any domestic U.S. Disney theme park. I love I love New Orleans Square. Fantasmic, hands down, beats ours with a stick. And Cafe Orleans, as I was mentioning, the Monte Cristo sandwich. I'm sorry. I think it's worth flying out there just for the sandwich. Seriously.
Anna and Julep.
And and I'm in Julep, yes, of course. But for me personally, I think, really, it's worth flying out there just to get the Monte Cristo. Let's move over to Mr. Corey.
Of course, New Orleans Square. It's a little taste of home without having.
Does it have that feeling for you though?
Oh, absolutely. Without having to put your wallet in your front pocket. Taste of home. And also, you can't walk around with a drink in your hand, but I just love the entire environment of it. Just those little. It's very picturesque for sure. Second, Space Mountain. Their version of Space Mountain blows ours away. It's smooth. The cars are just, you see two to a side by side. There's speakers. It's a smooth ride. I love that attraction. And their Toontown, specifically, that you can still see Mickey and Minnie's house. I just thought about my kids the whole time I was there and how much they would love to see that. So their Toontown is incredible.
Agreed. Mr. West.
Well, for me, it's I'm agreeing with you. Space Mountain, way better out there. I love the music. I love the track. I like that they got away with being able to have the space for doing one track instead of having the twin tracks that we have here. So that becomes a better coaster because of that. We also have Indiana Jones Adventure. Definitely the same kind of thing Craig was saying. I'm a huge Spielberg, Indiana Jones fan. It's one of my favorite movies, so of course I absolutely love that ride. And Fantasmic, you just can't beat it. That's on my list.
It's an they're Fantasmic. It's just a whole different experience from us.
I love the way they utilize everything, even the sailing ship Columbia.
Yes.
Like, I was so shocked when that came out. Do they at the end they usually do the Mark
They use
Twain.
Mark Twain, yeah.
It was under refurb, so we didn't get
Yeah.
to see that part. They were just like waving ribbons on Tom Sawyer Island.
They didn't know what to do with themselves.
Yeah.
Shaun, what about you?
So my number one is Main Street USA because I worked at the Emporium, so it was important for me to really spend a lot of time on Main Street and see the original. and I just fell in love with it. I mean, there's so many different ways that places you can go and things to see. I love that the fact that their Center Street wasn't closed up. So here in Orlando, we have the one side of our Center Street is closed, and it was incorporated into the Emporium. So now the one whole store is just one big thing. But now they have like at Disneyland they have the Carnation
Cafe, yeah.
and it's really cool to.
We didn't talk about that amazing character breakfast we had at the.
Oh yeah, I hope we did talk about that. Do you want to talk about that now?
I do. I want to mention this. I want to mention this that. Look, it wasn't amazing because the food was good. Because the food wasn't that good.
I so remember the food being better than.
Well,
yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, and I never thought I'd live to see the day I'd say this, the character interaction was so good. Not like anything I've seen before. That it really didn't matter.
It was swarming with characters.
It was you couldn't get enough of them. They were constantly around, they were constantly there, and not just that. They weren't doing drive-bys. They were sitting down next to you. They were talking.
Stealing wheelchairs.
Rafiki was a trip.
Then we saw Rafiki in a wheelchair. Now, obviously, this was a guest's wheelchair who had transferred out of it to sit at the table, and Rafiki decided to sit in it. At which point, I snapped. All of us, I think, snapped pictures.
It was the funniest thing I think I've ever seen in my entire life.
It's like a sad face.
I don't assume we have that picture.
It was at the end of the
available.
video,
But it's at the end of the video.
We'll put it up in the show notes too.
But it was an amazing character meal.
Yeah.
And like I said, not because the food was great. And maybe we just caught it on an off day. I don't know. But the food wasn't awful. Just wasn't fabulous. But it didn't matter because I think it's the best character experience,
and it's
character meal I've ever had.
And it's the cheapest.
Is it really?
Yeah.
What was the price of it again?
It's probably $26.99, something like
Could
that.
have
I'd
been.
have to look. Usually it's like $23.99, $24.99, and then they bump it up in the spring break and in the summer. But
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. But, all right. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I had to make sure we put that in.
Yeah.
We were talking about that.
And then my second choice is Jungle Cruise. Mainly because it's just one of my favorite rides. I mean, when I applied to be on the college program, I wanted to be a skipper. I didn't make it, of course, but I got stuck in the Emporium instead. But
You'll get the point at the end. Go ahead.
It's just like I said earlier, the history. John Lasseter worked there. I mean, it's cool to be there and know all that stuff. And then lastly, the bobsleds. I just love the Matterhorn. I don't think anyone else does.
No.
I think I'm the only one.
like it.
But
You're the only person alive who loves the Matterhorn.
honestly, a lot of that is just to do with the landscape. I just love the shape of that mountain. Like you're on Main Street and you can see it over the
I
street.
think there's something in that we have to talk about.
Oh God. No, it's just because it's pretty.
You weren't
all.
breastfed enough as a child.
Oh no. Mom, stop watching.
Sorry, Mrs. Thompson.
Yeah, those are my three.
Oh, he's getting wrecked. We discovered this about Shaun on this trip, that Shaun can blush.
Go ahead, Craig.
Go ahead. Switch to Craig.
Watch this. Cut to Shaun. Okay. Go ahead, Craig.
Okay, mine were Adventureland. Everything about it. Indiana Jones.
Okay, we just wrote these yesterday, guys. We all forgot what our favorite things were.
Yeah. Indiana Jones, amazing. Jungle Cruise, way better than ours. The piranhas in it. We also had a great skipper. I think he was Nick, but hands down, best skipper I've ever had on any Jungle Cruise. He was hilarious. And then the Tiki Room, their pre-show for that, like seeing all the statues and they do their little interactive show, way better than ours. Alice in Wonderland, I already said, that was my favorite dark ride. Yeah. And Fantasmic, too. It was my favorite show of all the ones we saw. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. Finally, Mr. Bell.
all right, my number one always has to be Space Mountain. Love the ride. It's my favorite ride in any theme park. Fast, smooth. Number two, Remember Dreams Come True. I'm sorry you guys didn't get to see a good version of that. That was the fireworks that was started during the 50th, hosted by Julie Andrews.
It's fantastic.
And it's just an awesome fireworks show. It's been around for a while, so I'm hoping they don't take it away, but
I love how it incorporates attractions. So there's the Haunted Mansion stuff in there and Pirates and
And then, of course, number 3, Fantasmic. You got to always mention Fantasmic when you're talking about the top 3 at things at Disneyland.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And as I mentioned before, Tom's host of the DIS Unplugged Disneyland Edition, their show coming out this Thursday. What are we talking about this week?
This Thursday we're doing, Mary Jo's going to take one of her scenic drives out to somewhere in Southern California. She's going to Julian, California. It's like some stuff you can do when you're not at Disneyland Park. And then Michael went to an event at the Walt Disney Family Museum for, it was a D23 fan event, so he's going to talk about that.
And, it's an important thing to mention if you're planning a trip to Disneyland that you're an hour away from so much in Southern California beyond the parks, whether it's going out to
mountains, the beaches, San Diego,
things like that. And they talk about all that stuff and much more on Tom's show, so we encourage you to give them a listen every Thursday, disunplugged.com. And that is going to do it for part 1 of our DIS Team Goes West. Next week, we're going to talk about California Adventure, so we hope you tune in for that. Thanks for being with us, everybody. It's been great. Have a good one. And remember, stay out of the damn... Oh, sorry.
That's great.
I'm sorry, Dustin. I'm sorry. Okay. I completely forgot. And I don't know how I could have, because I'm the only one that's seen this. Dustin's video that he put together for Disneyland. I asked him to do something creative, and he certainly did. And we're calling it Memories of Disneyland, and it's...
Do I need tissues?
I don't know if you need tissues, but I'm not going to touch that. But it really is... I think it's the best video Dustin's done for us, and I don't think I'm overselling it. And that is how we're going to close out the show. I'm sorry, I forgot. That's what I said I wanted to do. And so enjoy Memories of Disneyland. Thanks for being with us, everybody. We'll see you next time.